Hello everybody, welcome into the stream. I am Charles Barton, the Achroma Community Coordinator, also known as Viridian in the Discord, and you are watching the Achroma weekly news stream on Sunday the 19th of March. I had to look at the date there because it's been a long week. Welcome in everybody, I hope you're all doing well. Let's start as always by saying hello to everybody in the chat and seeing the answer to the question, which today, the question we asked is, which faction would you join if you could realm run? Because obviously, you know, we are all currently in the Terra Planum, in, you know, where we live. So if you could realm run and you could get across to one of the other four realms, which of the factions would you join? So let's have a look. We've been having a bit of discussion as the stream's been starting. So hello to Sarah. Hello, Chef. Good to see you both. So Sarah came in straight away with Chroma Squadron. So yeah, you'd want to be a painter flying around, painting life and putting chrome around everywhere. Welcome in OSJ, who would join Draco Temple and later on specified denizens. Very, very cool. Welcome in, Chef. Now, Draco for sure. I'd be riding on the back of one of those dragons. Very cool. So would you be a Draco Defender then, if you're flying around with them, I guess? Welcome in, Hazmat. Good to see you. So you'd want to be Curdle to learn magic, and then later specified Von Ruthro. The Mages Elite seem too stuffy. I mean, I guess, you know, the way I see it is Mages Elite are kind of like the military, the police, the ones in control of the area, whereby Von Ruthro are more like the head of the citizens, I guess, the family that looks after everybody. So, okay, fun run through for yourself. Welcome in, Lewis. Fallen Stone Pixies, get that color out of here. You just want to spread Achroma, Lewis. But hey, fair play. Fallen Stone Pixies, good choice, good choice. Welcome in, Tiggs, good to see you. Welcome in, Joe, good to see you as well. Welcome in, Daryl. Welcome in, Darth. I joined the monks, so the Denzies as well. Daryl, you go for the occultists. Okay, okay. And Draco as a monastery monk, Richard. You know what? I'm actually with a few of you there. I also would like to go to the Denzians, because I'd love to join the Draco Defenders. Don't get me wrong, but the fact I'm not a dragon, I feel like I'd kind of get left behind. Whereas, you know, I quite like the idea of being, you know, again, I agree, being a monk. You know, looking after the temples. It sounds like a very relaxing life. Being able to see these amazing, majestic dragons flying around, and I'm sure occasionally, you know, I'm sure Darnakusk or Tengri or one of the other dragons would let you have a ride every now and then, you know. And we have seen one of the new cards is like an ornithopter, so you'd be able to fly around on those as well. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, that's where I'd want to be anyway. I think it'd be a very peaceful life. Reject humanity, become a dragon. Yeah, you know what, Joe? I would if I could. Welcome in, Daniel. Good to see you as always, mate. Wax on, wax off. Exactly. So welcome in, everybody, to this weekly stream. So let's go through what you can expect in this stream. So to begin with, we're going to be having a look at the Achroma news in just a moment. The biggest thing for this week is going to be talking about the Chapter 1 card changes. I know that's why a lot of you are here today, but we've got some other news to talk about as well. We will then come on to talk about the upcoming events and what you can expect to see soon, where you can expect to find us. We then move into a special segment where we always have some form of sneak peek, and today is no different. I will be showing you I'll be showing you the final Realmless cards. So I think we've seen all of the Realm Runners, we've seen all of the Realm Relics, we've seen half of the Realm Runes and half of the Realm Rifts. You're going to see the other half of the Realm Rifts and Runes today. I've also got 8 more of the expansion cards to show you. And on top of that, I've also got a couple of the alt art cards to show you as well. So plenty of sneak peeks. And then we've got a community showcase, which is a very mixed one today. Normally it's just kind of fan art and then a little bit of deck building, but today we've got a lot of community showcase. Actually got quite a lot to talk about in that one, so it should be quite fun. To begin with, let's start by going into the Achroma news. So the first, I'm actually going to turn the music down just a tad. I feel like the music could be a tiny bit quieter. Let's just go to there. There we go. So the first bit of news is around the Kickstarter. Now, not as much news for the Kickstarter as per the previous weeks, but I want to make sure I'm keeping you guys updated with where the current production is for the products that you guys are very patiently waiting for. So the only news I've got for you this week is that the Chapter 1 Unlimited cards, so this is all, if anybody bought any Achroma palettes for the original Chapter 1 for Chronicles. Obviously, there'll be unlimited edition prints. All of those have been sent off to the printer this week. So, you know, we will get those back as soon as we get those back and get them sent out ASAP. Those have been sent to the printer because we're doing all the printing in phases. I can confirm as well that some of the expansion cards have been sent off. I believe it's the Curdle and Draco ones have been sent off. But obviously people won't be getting those until all the rest of them are finished with the Realmless cards. But, you know, we are actively getting these cards sent off to the printer. So we are definitely on schedule for how those are going so far. As a reminder, we spoke about last week, the ETAs for all of the individual products you can find on a post on our website, as well as a post in our Discord FAQ. So I'm not going through those today. But the main thing is that they have gone off to the printer. I still have a bit of a note here that we are still aiming to deliver the alpha, sorry, not the alpha version, backtrack there. We're still aiming to get you guys early access to the mobile adventure game ASAP. I believe we're aiming for 3 weeks or before. I'm going to be having some sneak peeks of that as soon as I have them. But yes, we are fully working to make sure that gets to your door nice and quickly. And obviously the Alpha TTRPG, that is relatively soon as well. It's just making sure that we have everything tied up with a neat little bow before we get it sent out. So yeah, all progressing nice and quickly. Hey, welcome in, Chris. Good to see you, mate. How you doing? So yeah, that's all I have to say on the Kickstarter this week. Is just a quick bit of an update on that. So in other news this week, we had an event back on Tuesday at the Sanctuary Gaming Centre. Now, unfortunately, I was unable to attend this one, so I don't have too much information about it, but really pleased to say that Sanctuary Gaming had their first ever Achroma demo on Tuesday evening. I believe it was run by our resident Heron in the community. I believe there was a relatively good showing of people. You know, we had some people that had traveled to play the game that have already played it before. Quite a few new people picked it up. And from what I'm told, it went really well. People had lots of fun. And it was just a really, really good evening overall. If you've not checked out Sanctuary Store yet, there is the link to their Facebook page down in the description. So make sure to check it out. It's up just above Nottingham. So if that is not too far away from yourself, I know they're going to be having more demos and more Achroma nights. I'm sure some of the Bash folk will probably be going up at some point. I know that I will make the journey to Sanctuary at some point. But yeah, for anyone that took part in that event this week, I hope you had fun. Let me know in the chat if you were there. But yeah, really, really cool to hear that that went well. I went. It was really good. Oh, you went, Tix, did you? Oh yeah. Feel free to tell us more about it. But no, it was a fun night. Awesome. I mean, do you mind me asking, Tix? You know, is that the first time that you found Achroma, or were you one of the players that's kind of, you know, you've already played Achroma, but you came to join? Interested to know. Welcome in, Henry. Good to see you. I'm like, oh, don't worry at all, Hen. No worries being late. Hey, Codex, welcome in. Wasn't there, but glad to see those did have fun. Yeah, it's really good. It's just nice to see these little local stores popping up with Achroma, you know, having regular little gaming nights. I'm hoping that my local might pick it up soon so I can start going more local as well. Yeah, very, very good. So well done to those who were there. My next bit of news is always around YouTube. So this week we've only had one video drop, and that was a testimonial video. So for those that haven't seen, it was actually a video we did actually make a few weeks ago, but we didn't actually have it live on YouTube. It was just as an unlisted video, but it was linked in the Kickstarter. And what this was a combination of 5 or 6 of our community members who very kindly got on camera and gave their personal opinion of the Achroma card game so that we could put that on the Kickstarter to help, you know, show potential backers what the community thinks of the game. We have now released that video live on YouTube, so if you haven't yet watched that and want a little bit of wholesomeness, then feel free to give it a watch. Again, a massive thank you to everyone that, you know, was part of that video. We really, really were grateful for those that stepped in front of the camera and did that. It really did help. And, you know, it's now a video cemented on our YouTube channel so that any new people that come across our YouTube channel can see it and see your testimonial as well. So thank you very much. It's not a very long video, so if you haven't checked it out, I definitely recommend doing so. So Tiggs, I bought into it a few days before the game, and went to learn about the mechanics of the game. Oh, fantastic, Tiggs. Well, may I be probably not the first person, but may I welcome you to the community. I hope you had a lot of fun playing, and yeah, I'm glad to see you here in the stream today, as going to be some interesting stuff to discuss today. Hey, no worries, Darth. Thank you very much, buddy. Now, there's actually another bit of YouTube news. So this isn't a YouTube video that we brought out, as in Achroma, but there is a YouTube video that sparked our attention this week, and that is, there is a YouTube channel that does board game reviews called Because of Dragons, which I think is a very, very interesting name for a YouTube channel, considering we do love dragons here over in Achroma. So the review has been linked down below. Obviously, I'm not going to be playing it on stream today, but if you haven't seen it, I'd really recommend taking the time to go and check out their review. It's linked down below in this description of the stream. Go give it a watch, go give it a like, go show some support to their channel, as we're very, very grateful for them putting out a review, and it was very, very nice review as well. They had fair criticisms in place, but overall it was a fantastic review, and it's always good to see other people posting Achroma content, obviously. So make sure to check that out as well. Welcome in, Heron. Good to see you. Just woke up in time. No worries. I did thank you about 5 minutes ago. I did just say a thank you for obviously running that Sanctuary Gaming event. We did just talk about that. But yes, very good. So that is the Achroma YouTube news. So then, the biggest news today is the one that most of you are here to talk about. And that is the fact that we have some news on all of our Achroma Chapter 1 releases. So that is Curse of Curdle Hill, Siege of Draco Temple, Fall of Flutterby, and Warriors of Wishwell cards have gone through what we call I've never been corrected, but I believe the correct word is errata. Either way, the unposh name is changes. So there are going to be potentially a lot of questions. So before I start to describe exactly which cards have changed and what haven't changed, etc., let's just go through the fundamentals of errata. Okay, I'm glad to say that correctly. Let's go through the fundamentals, some of the frequently asked questions that we're probably going to get. So firstly, the big question: why are we updating cards? Because some of you go, well, why change the cards? Why not just leave them alone, leave them where they are? So there's several reasons. Firstly, the reason why we're changing them now is that now is a really good opportunity, because we are phasing from our first edition cards, which are slowly selling out, Achroma.cards in the description below, to what we're calling unlimited edition cards. Now, it made sense that if we were going to be making changes to cards, we may as well do it before we start printing unlimited cards. That way, anybody that's got a first edition card, yes, your cards will be slightly, different on the cards, but that's that. The last thing we wanted to do was start printing unlimited cards, then make the changes, because then you've now got first edition cards and some unlimited edition cards that are the old versions and some that the new. It would just get very, very confusing. It's much easier if we just go, hey, the first edition cards are the ones that have the old wording, the unlimited editions have the new wording. So now was the perfect opportunity to change these cards before we send them to the printing run. But why are we making any changes at all? Well, the name is in the game. We are an evolving card game. And one of the things, just like in any card game, whether it's, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Magic the Gathering, Duel Masters, any card game has to reflect on what we have done. And as the game progresses, as we bring out more cards, there are two main things that happen in a card game. One, it is sometimes only after releasing cards and after the community has playtested them for hours and hours and hours and hours that you realize that some cards just aren't working, whether they are just not powerful enough, or whether they are just too overused, or just whether they just are broken completely. So yeah, sometimes there's cards that need changings for that reason, and sometimes there are cards that need changing for clarification. Now, before we get into the actual changes that have happened today, I will say that the very, very, very large majority of the changes that we have made are not gameplay abilities, but are instead, the word of the day, folks, is consistency. We have changed a lot of words to make sure that they are consistent with the others, and clarity. There are a lot of cards that make sense, but as our community's been growing, we've got a lot of very clever people in the community that start reading in between the lines and go, hold up, that card says this. Does it mean that? Or could it mean that? If that means that, then does that card mean that? And you start getting into those gray areas, which can bring some amazing discussions, but doesn't really help new players. But just to be very clear, we love those chats. In no way do we want to stop anybody from, saying, this card, it could be that, could be that. We want to know that, because if if you guys didn't voice your opinions, it's the whole point of having a good community like you guys. If you guys aren't voicing those opinions, we won't be able to make any changes. So yeah, what I was trying to say is that why we're making these changes then is because it was noted that there were a lot of cards that had that gray area. There actually were not very many cards that needed changing, but there are a lot of cards that needed consistency wording to make sure that it's all good. Yeah, so Matt says, yeah, guilty. Also brings in broken gameplay. True. And Lewis like, no, never done that before. So the second thing I wanted to discuss is for those that have played a lot of card games before, you probably already know the answer to this. But I'm aware that we've got a lot of people in our community where this is potentially your first proper card game. So some of you might now be worrying, hold the phone. I literally just bought cards a week ago. Have I just wasted my money? I can tell you for a fact, no. Okay? So, to begin with, if you have any first edition cards, which yes, as we go through the update in a moment, you're going to see that some of your cards are now going to be, quote, outdated in terms of they'll have different wording on them. Your cards are still legal to play. They are still valid cards. You can keep playing with them. In fact, some would argue they might even go up in value because you've now got cards that were pre-change meta. But what you will need to do is, especially for any competitions or tournaments or proper games, once we release the card changes, you will need to play the card as per what the new wording is, not necessarily the wording on your card. Now, to be very clear though, if you're quite a casual player, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to be honest, if you are a casual player and you're playing at home with your friends, with your family, it doesn't matter. If you want to just play by what the card says, previously, it doesn't change anything. But just to be aware, for those that are looking for the competitive scene, or those, we recommend that everybody play with the new changes because they've not been done for no reason. They've been done to try and make the game as balanced as possible and also as clear as possible. So we recommend playing by the new cards, but I just don't want to stress anybody out that if you're new to the game, you're just looking for a casual card game, you can just literally play it as it is if you want to. But be aware, if you ever come to a tournament or a competition, you would have to play by the new cards. So it's worth learning them anyway. If you have any questions, as I'm going through, by the way, folks, please put them in the chat and I will make sure every question gets answered as thoroughly as possible. I'm aware we've got some of the other core team in the chat as well who can answer if I can't. So let's talk about what has been changed then. So, by the way, welcome in, Rhiannon. Good to see you in the stream. Please don't hurt my gal, my home, my love. Last time I checked, I wasn't a card hen. Darth, is there going to be anything made by the team to help the folks relate to the old cards, new rules, like an info sheet? I will come on to that in a bit, Darth. The answer is essentially yes. So, I can split all of the changes into 7 categories, which we're going to go through on stream. So the first category is what I call ability changes. So any cards that fall into this category are cards that actually have been changed. Their abilities have been adapted or evolved, or I don't think there's any cards that have been like completely reworked, but they've had changes to them to either give them a bit of a nerf or a bit of a buff. So yes, there are some in there. The second category we'll talk about is ability rewordings, which is, like I said earlier, where we're not actually changing the ability, but we're changing the wording to make sure it is clearer how it should be working. We then have heroic updates. So there are some cards that have gained heroic status. More on that in a moment. We then have an update on shard color order. We then have a section of resolve effect consistency. We have some new card subtypes being added. And we have some spelling and grammar fixes. So let's go through each of these categories and explain what has been changed and what cards have been changed. So starting with ability changes then. So I'm not going to bring up the first card just yet. But like I said, the cards I'm about to show you are cards that have actually had their abilities reworked. I will talk through each card and how it's changed from the original cards, as I appreciate some people might not have the original yet. And I'll also talk about why we've made these changes. I hope you all agree that these changes were the best way forward. Ready? So I think it was at this point a little bit, I don't think anybody's going to be surprised to know that our prime suspect was indeed Murky Mana. So Murky Mana has had an update. It is still Drain 2. It is still a 6-cost rare. It has had the updated wording to be an action, but in fairness, that was always the way it was supposed to be played. That's not a change, just a fix. The difference is, rather than it being fined, It is now reveal a card with Achroma and immediately deploy it for free. I'll talk, let's talk about this one, then we'll come on to Major City Enforcer. So, yeah, let's be honest, folks. I think we all agree, whether it was your favorite card or not, I think we can all agree that the fact that you could play Murky Mana and find your Isadora or your Otrix or any other Achroma card that you wanted and play it for free, it was just far too strong. The reason for it, the reason why that's too strong is it effectively becomes a second version of your legendary. There is technically a, 1 in 5 chance of you drawing your Isadora in your first hand. Technically, if you didn't draw your Isadora, but you did draw your Murky Mana, you've got your Isadora. Because you play Murky Mana and you get her out free. If anything, actually, that's better, because now for the same 6 shard cost, you're also getting a -2 location. It was too strong. So we didn't want to completely nerf it because, we still want rare cards to be powerful. Now, the word reveal is a new keyword that's come into the game. It's coming in with the new expansion. We have already explained it previously on stream, but let me explain it more today. So, reveal, let's say you played Murky Mana now. Reveal a card with Achroma and immediately deploy it for free. So what that means is, let's say I had my... let's get a deck out. Here we go. I've got my Isadora deck. Let's give it a quick shuffle. So let's say I've just played Murky Mana. What you would do is you would take your palette and you would turn over each card from the top in unison until you find the first card with Achroma. Now, actually, in that instance, the first card I turned over actually was a card with Achroma. It's actually our Salem Spring card. So therefore, that would have been the card I played for free. Let's say I continue... Oh, to be fair, this is actually an all Achroma deck. So in fairness, any card I pull out is probably going to be Achroma. But yes, so you're still getting to deploy a card for free. It's just that it is a bit more random to which one you get. But that doesn't mean, for those that love Murky Mana Isadora combo, it's not, you can still potentially work around it. For example, you could build an Isadora deck that is full of Magus Elites. You could make it so that Murky Mana and Isadora are the only 2 Achroma cards in your palette, so therefore Murky Mana does still get your Isadora and play it for free. So you can still build your palettes around your Murky Mana, finding Isadora, but it's just not as consistent. I think that was the issue with Murky Mana. It was too consistent to get out your legendary. So hopefully you guys agree that I appreciate that we ideally try not to change cards properly, but this I feel like is going to be in a much, much better place. So let's see what people in chat said. Sarah said you're going to make Hen cry. Henry's no. Richard, damn, need to go to work. No worries, Richard. Enjoy your work, buddy. My deck's ruined now, times 3 my whole career. You prefer it, Sarah? Idol says that's a much better pair of cards we're going to have to alter our friendos from the Salem Planum. Lewis saying that's a giant nerf. Not a fan of how big functional change is. No, fair enough, Lewis. I appreciate it. It's one of those ones that it's not going to please everybody, but yeah, I understand that. But I just screams Prism. But yeah, it might be that you do get a Prism Sapper out for one, and in that situation, it might end up being then, in that situation, you're going to go, oh, damn, that was terrible. But then it will just mean that when you're making your Murky Mana palettes, you've just got to build your palette, maybe a few less cheaper Achroma and a few more expensive ones. Or, if you have got Murky Mana in your hand, maybe wait a few turns, or maybe, how about this, folks? Maybe put Green Raven in your palette so that you could look at the top card of your palette to be able to see whether that is an Achroma card that you want to play free, then play Murky Mana. There's essentially, you now have to work a little bit harder to get the card working. If you do that with only Murky Mana Isadora, the mana does not do anything for draw later. Yes, exactly. So it's a bit of a trade-off. It just means that people are going to have to build their decks a bit differently, that's all. Yes, exactly, Renegade. It's very similar to the Realm Rifts, but the Realm Rifts are still more powerful because they are once per turn, whereas this is just an action. Yes, Murky Mana basically becomes you want to get this early in the game. If you get it later, it's just trade fodder. Now, let's not forget about our poor little Major Elite Enforcer over there, who has also had a change. Now, this change is a little bit different. So, the old Major Elite Enforcer was when Major Elite Enforcer attacks, increase their shards by 1 red. Now, the way this played out was that when you attacked with Major Elite Enforcer, you still had 3 strength, but you actually had 4 shards, which meant that Major Elite Enforcer could effectively attack into another 3 shard character and win, but survive the fight. Now, I've been told by the creators that the way they actually intended that to work, it was actually supposed to be that he does gain a strength. but the way the card was worded wasn't ideal, so it ended up playing the wrong way around. So this has now been changed to, this is actually how they wanted the card to be in the first place. So, and I think you guys will agree with me that that actually suits Mage Elite's lore better, that he's, he's an attacker, he's an aggressive one. So yeah, so now when he attacks, when he does do an attack now, he's now a 4 strength, but still 3 shards. So you might, you might use him to throw into a more expensive character like Gunnar or Arabella or someone like that, Mage Elite Enforcer is going to lose that fight, but at least he's going to be able to take someone out bigger with him. Or put an object of power on him, and now he's going to be even more powerful. So those are the first 2. Now, there are only, I'll tell you now, folks. I should have mentioned that I'm going to talk more about it later on in the stream, but one of our community members, Echo, has created a fan-made article website, and I know he did a poll on how many cards would be changed. We'll talk more about the results of that poll later, but I can confirm that there are only 4 cards that are actually receiving ability changes. So we've just seen the first 2, Murky Mana Enforcer. The other 2, I'm sure a lot of people are going to be happy about this one. Gazelle and Solveig have been changed. So these 2 changes are actually pretty much identical. So the issue with Gazelle and Solveig with their previous versions is their previous versions were, let's talk about Gazelle specifically. Gazelle used to be, if you have 3 or more trolls on your canvas, gain +4, Gazelle can't be erased, and in your resolve step, Gazelle can't be erased, also during your resolve step, +4 and draw a card. Essentially, with Gazelle and Solveig, unless you actually had the condition of the 3 trolls out, you gained 0 resolve. It was just a 6th strength character. And that made them far, far too weak, because you had to have the 2 trolls out, or they were effectively just a strong character. And which, in a game that is all about managing your shards, it was very, very unlikely that somebody wanted to spend 6 shards on a card that was so easily counterable, just knock out one of the other characters. So all that's been changed for Gazelle and Solveig, it's actually quite a small change, is they've just made it where the +4 for Gazelle and the steel 2 for Solveig are now their natural resolve, so that will happen regardless of what else is on your canvas. And you still get the abilities that cannot be erased and draw a card if you have the 3 trolls. So all we've done is taken the resolve out of the ability and put it into a natural resolve, just so that they can actually be played a little bit more. We're hoping that with that change, people will be more likely to palette build with them, and we'll start to get some more use out of them. What do we think of these ones? Idol's getting a yeah! Joe says hell yes. Idol says these 2 are pretty much unheard of in Warriors. Yeah, I'll be honest, even I rarely played with them just because, Chieftain Snorre and Astrid were just better choices due to their resolve. Such good quality of life change, Gazelle's looking much more appealing? Yeah, much more. Darth, I may have gone another direction with the mana, not change the ability to reveal is, change the ability to reveal is fine, but you could spend the shards to find a character of that many shards. Yeah, to be very clear, folks, I had no real say in the ability changes, so I don't know what conversations were had about that. I'd imagine considering that it is already a 6-cost card, I imagine that they didn't want to go down the 3 or 4 shard cost because, Murky Mana should still be able to find your legendary. It's still a very strong card. It's just that there's now a little bit more RNG to it. Yes, so those are all of the card ability changes. So to be very, very clear, those are the only 4 cards that actually will now play differently based on their abilities and resolve. All of the cards I'm about to mention are just, well, technically we are going to talk about heroic cards. You could argue about them, but yeah, those are the only ability changes. Like I said, we did try to keep it as minimal as possible because we don't ideally want to change cards due to how confusing that can be. Norso Totem, Astrid Lickeringi, Snorri Brascavi were only played. Yeah, exactly. So next then, we talk about the ability rewordings. So this, as I mentioned before, where I say ability rewordings, this isn't where we've actually changed abilities in terms of how it works, but instead this is about making the ability clearer to how it works, so there's less grey areas. So there's been a few changes. So firstly, let's talk about Umbra Igneous and other cards like Umbra. So there were a lot of cards that had abilities that people weren't sure whether it was mandatory or not. For example, take Umbra Igneous. What he used to be was whenever Umbra Igneous attacks, erase a location. So that led to some questions of, let's say there was a scenario where you had Umbra on your canvas, and let's say you also had a location, let's say Achroma Haven. Let's say you were attacking an opponent who only had a Draco hatchling. They didn't have a location. The question people were saying was, if I attack the Draco hatchling, the ability says erase a location. Does that mean I have to erase my own location because there's nothing else to erase? And the answer was always no. That was always how it was supposed to be played. No, you did not have to. So what we've done is any cards that were genuinely optional, if you don't have to do the ability, we've added the word may. So whenever Umbra Ignis attacks, you may erase a location. And on the flip side, look at the word. So cards like Fishing Dock, Delilah's Cauldron. I can't think of any more off the top of my head. There are a couple of cards that had things that you weren't sure whether you had to do it every turn or not, because, there would definitely be a benefit if you could choose whether to do it or not, Fishing Dock being one of them. Now, Fishing Dock is one of those cards that is a must. So you can see there, once during a turn, you must look at a card. So again, we've made sure that it's very clear that cards are must or may. Trader's Pass, I'm pretty certain is still a may. I don't know off the top of my head, but I'm pretty certain that's still a may. So the other thing that we have done is change the once per turn. So there was also confusion is maybe the wrong word. There was a grey area because a lot of cards, I'm pretty certain it's a may. There are a lot of cards that say once per turn. And this was a grey area because people weren't sure. Does that mean once per my turn or once per everybody's turn? Is it once per round or once per player turn? So we've made this clear as well. Every single card that says once during your turn or once per turn has been changed to either say once during your turn or once per turn. So if it just says once per turn, that's once per everybody's turn. If it's once during your turn, it's your turn only. Another good example of this is Cocoon Lantern. That one was, I know that we had a bit of a chat in the questions of the Discord recently, which was Cocoon Lantern is once per turn, when one of your characters are raised, you may gain the shards. And there was a question of, is that once on every turn or just on my turn? So the answer for that one is that is a once per turn, so on every turn. So yes, we have updated that wording as well. Hopefully you guys will appreciate that. What else have we done? Oh, and or. I don't have a picture for this. Yeah, Green Raven was another example of that. Absolutely. So Green Raven does now say once per turn rather than, it doesn't say once during your turn. And then I don't have a picture of this, but the other change that has happened is and or. So we had some abilities that had multiple factors. Take Breath of Fire, for example. Breath of Fire was a card that said, it was an action, and it said, it said erase a location and a character. I think it was the other way around. Erase a character and location. So now, any cards that have multiple conditions like that, we have added the word and/or. So I haven't got the picture of it now for you, but Breath of Fire is now erase a character and or location. And it was the same grey area that we had for Umbra Ignis, where if you were in a situation where you had locations but your opponent didn't, and you played a Breath of Fire to erase an opponent's character, the question was, am I now forced to erase my own location? And the answer is no. It is and or. We've added that to every single card that has a double instance of an action, provided that it is one you do have choice. There might still be some that you don't have a choice, but yes, the cards have been updated to make that point. And then, lastly, then, lastly for this little section, which is the ability rewordings, I haven't got time to bring up every single card, but there are a lot of cards that have had rewordings individually to make sense. I can't show it on stream, but for an example, if I just bring up my little document here, for example, Double Trouble. Double Trouble was one that had a bit of a grey area, because Double Trouble, for a long time, we weren't sure whether it was, what exactly does it copy? So I can tell you that Double Trouble, for example, is now, where is it? Double Trouble. So Double Trouble is now, once deployed, this card becomes a copy of any character on a canvas, gaining all of its abilities and strength. There we go. So that was something, is, there was a question around, do you we know that Double Trouble stays as 3 shards, but does it gain the strength of the character? The answer was yes, it does. So we've changed that wording. So there's a lot of cards that and I'm not going to go through them all on stream because we'd literally be here for hours, but there are a lot of cards that have had their ability individually reworded. But to be very clear, the reason I'm not going through them in a list now is that it has not changed how the card works in the slightest. It's just a clearer picture for new players as to how it works, so that newer players don't have the same frequently asked questions that you guys in the community have had in the past. So yes. So those are all of the ability rewording. So and/or, once per turn or once during your turn, may/must, and loads of individual wordings as well. So the next topic of update is the heroic changes. So for those who don't know, cards in Achroma can have what's called the heroic status. And this is where on the top of their card, it says heroic location or heroic character, heroic action, heroic object, etc. And we have a rule in Achroma, which is you cannot have 2 copies of the same heroic on your canvas at the same time. Be very clear to those that are new to the game, yes, you can have multiple heroics in your palette, and yes, you can have multiple heroics on your canvas. You just can't have 2 copies of the same heroic on your canvas at the same time. That includes copies using Double Trouble and Mirror Sanctum. So what we have done is we have taken some cards that were arguably too powerful when they were being copied with Mirror Sanctum and Double Trouble, as considering that there is going to be more cards in the future that allow copies, like for example Serpent's Ring coming up. So there are a few cards that have been upped to heroic status. Let's have a look at these. So the first 2, the one on the left is going to be no surprise. The one on the right may surprise you. So yes, Vast Volataris is absolutely one of the ones that has had a heroic location added. So Vast Volataris cannot now be Mirror Sanctumed. The other one is Achroma Storehouse. Achroma Storehouse was far too powerful. Because what some people would do is you would play Achroma Storehouse. Let's say that you literally only had those 2 cards out. So you have Vast Volataris out. You play Achroma Storehouse and choose Dark Blue. You've instantly just gained 1 shard net. Let's then say you play another Achroma Storehouse and choose Dark Blue again. You'd now gain 6 shards, which is another net gain of 3. Then you play your Mirror Sanctum for 1 shard and choose another Achroma Storehouse. Effectively, you could then, in that let's say you chose light blue, you would then gain 8 shards, which would be a net gain of 7. Then you resolve for 2, 4, 6, 8. It's ridiculous. Storehouse, Mirror Sanctum was a disgustingly broken combo. So yes, it has been made heroic. That's still a very powerful card, even just by itself. What it means now is rather than playing it early and then stacking it with more Achroma Storehouses, you have to wait to play it until you actually have 3 or 4 or 5 cards on your canvas to really get to that one. Yes, that is very true, Lewis. Lewis has a very valid point. When it comes to double stacking heroics, you can't. Let's say you already had a Achroma Storehouse on your canvas. You can play another Achroma Storehouse, but as soon as you deploy it, the other one disappears. So you'd only, you'd get 1 less benefit to it, and it's not going to stay on your canvas. But technically, you can still play the second Achroma Storehouse. It's just the first one would get destroyed. So, it's not that you play one and then you're locked in, you can't play the second one. It's just that the second one would then get erased. Storehouse is still a step too far. I can hear Reek screaming. Yeah, it was a very strong combo. Do I have another image for this one? So I don't have any more images, but I will tell you, because it's a relatively short list, I will read out to you the other cards that have given heroic status. So we've got these 2. We've also got, from Draco Temple, Monastery Nest. So Monastery Nest is now a heroic location as well, which means that you cannot double stack that, and you cannot, Mirror Sanctum a Monastery Nest. There is also Achroma Balanium. Really, it was a rare location. That should have been heroic. Yep, so Monastery Nest is now heroic, as is Achroma Balanium. If heroic disappears from playing a second copy, is it erased? Yes, it is erased, Joe. So if you had Let's say you were in a situation where you had Detective Raxia on your board. You know, the one which is once per turn, if a card is erased, it goes back to your hand. Let's say you had a Detective Huxon out, and don't ask me why, but let's say you played another Detective Huxon. The first Huxon would go back to your hand. So yes, it gets erased. So if you had if you had like Norso Totem on your board, for example, you could do that so the card gets erased and goes in. That is correct. So yes, Monastery Nest, Fast Volataris, Achroma Storehouse, Achroma Balanium. So those are the 4 that have happened from Draco. We also have 4 locations that have gone up to heroic status in Warriors of Wishwell. We have Lokringi Gardens. So that is now a heroic location. Let's be honest, it should have been. Norso Totem. Can you believe it, folks? Some of you might not have even noticed, but Norso Totem is not technically a heroic location. So Norso Totem is now heroic. That definitely cannot be copied in any way. Wishwell Market Stall as well. So that is the one where every time somebody deploys a card, you get +1. So that is heroic. And Briscavi Falls is also a heroic card as well. Norso Totem is why I asked, because it would then get traded. Yes, very true. So if you had Norso Totem on your board and you played another Norso Totem, I don't know how you get that, but let's just say you did. The first Norso Totem would be erased and would be traded. Yeah. Have you got to the Drake changes yet? I've already spoken about individual changes. I'll say that much. Cool. I'll talk more about that in a bit. Norso Totem says heroic on it. Does it? Yeah, it does. Why was I told that? Why did... How strange. It does on mine. Huh. Well, I was lied to by the team. Okay, on the art, on the site, it doesn't. Okay, so maybe, I think what might have happened is maybe on the original document that the team used, it must have not been, but maybe they caught it before printing. Either way, whether it is definitely a heroic location, and we'll make sure it's updated on the database as well. You think I'd know that on top of my head. Cooper says, all things are possible in Heroes. Yes, keep in mind as well, folks, that in Heroes, yeah, a lot more options are available. Cool. So yes, those are all the cards that have got heroic status. So now what I will say at this point in time, folks, is as we're going through this, I do want to mention that all of the changes that I'm mentioning, there is going to be a, because I think Darth asked about this earlier, about where is this going to be posted. So over the next couple of days, this is probably a good time to mention it, is that over the next couple of days, we are going to be working nice and quickly. It's probably going to be sometime early next week where the card database will be updated. So you'll be able to physically look at all the individual cards and see them. And on top of that, there is going to be a news article on the website that will also list all of the changes and everything. Basically, everything I'm discussing on stream today will be in that article. So in case you're worried about, how do I remember all this? Don't worry, it will all be in there. It will be readable very, very soon. It's legendary, should be heroic. Yeah. Why is there a heroic status in Flutterby? As in, none of them are being, none of them have been changed. None of the locations or cards that are currently unheroic felt like they need to be heroic, is what I imagine. So the next thing I want to talk about then is shard color order. What time in the video do I go to for Drake changes? I mean, it's not a video, it's a live stream call. So it'll be. I'll talk about it in once I've finished through my little script here. Don't worry, cool. We will get onto it. So the next thing I want to talk about is shard color changes. So to be very clear, we have not changed the shard cost of any card, nor have we changed the shard colors of any card. As in, it's not the which colors they have. What we have done, this is purely a consistency change, is we noted that the order in which the colors go round the center hex were different. If you guys can look at cards now. If you look at Darnacusk versus Norso Totem, or Darnacusk versus Cronus, the order the colors went in was different. So what we've done is Chillman and the team have done a massive job. They've gone through every card and made it so the order will always be red, yellow, green, cyan, blue, magenta. Now, obviously, if a card doesn't have those colors, you know, let's say the shard colors were red, cyan, and pink, it would go red, cyan, and pink. Like, to be very clear, shard number 1 is this one here. It's the one in the kind of like 1, 2 o'clock position. So it's always red, yellow, green, cyan, blue, red. And yes, Achroma at the end. Very good point. Very good point, Lewis. Yes, Achroma will always be at the end. So yeah, it's not actually changing any shard colors or costs or anything like that. It's just consistency, exactly. Because what's good about this is all this consistency that we're doing for these changes, we are now moving forward with in future cards as well. Yes, exactly. We use Darnacusk as our one and only god, and Darnacusk is where it's then all filtered down from. That's why I used him as the example. So yes, that is the shard color changes. Again, not a massive thing. We have also... Oh, I had another picture of that. There we go. So there we go. There's how it's changed to Cronus. I had a second picture for that. But it's the same thing. So the other thing is we have added some extra subtypes. He is correct and everybody copies him now. Exactly. So what we've done is... Currently, in all of your first edition cards, you'll notice that all of the characters and all of the locations have what we call subtypes. Cronus had a resolve chain. Oh, yes, I missed a step. You know what? I did say to myself, Lewis, you're absolutely right. I did say to myself in my head, I was like, why did I get a second image for the shard colors? No, this is a different thing. I skipped a bit in my script. I'm sorry, folks. So the next change to talk about is what we're calling resolve effect consistency. I almost missed that there. Yeah. So to be very clear about this, no cards have had their resolve changed apart from ones that you've already seen. So we've already spoken about Gazelle. We've already spoken about Solveig. The resolve change you're seeing here is more about consistency. So again, something that we noticed is that some of our cards, like Detective Cronus, said +3 for each Major Elite character, yet other cards in other realms had the whole +X, and then they would include themselves in the +X. So there was inconsistency, and some cards used the X mechanic, some cards didn't. And also, some cards, you know, had a natural resolve at the top and didn't include themselves at the bottom, and vice versa. So we've tried to make it consistent. So any cards like Cronus that had no resolve but included themselves in the bottom, we've now removed themselves from the bottom and made it so they have a natural resolve in the top. But as you can see with Cronus, we've then reworded it to say +3 for each other Majors Elite. So it still works in the same way. She hasn't actually been changed. It's just that for consistency, it looks the same as how we've done the other realms. That make sense? I'm not going to name all the cards that this has changed because, just to be very clear, there is not a single card that has had their resolve changed in this manner where it's actually changed how the resolve works. Apart from Solveig and Gazelle, as we've already mentioned, it's purely just, for newer players, it's just consistency, consistency, consistency. So that is the resolve change. Sorry, Lewis, well done for bringing that up. I looked at that and went, oh yeah, that's just the shard color, and got myself confused. So going back to this then. So I said that with characters and locations, you'll notice if you look at your first edition cards currently, that these all have subtypes. So for example, a character in the Siege of Draco Temple might be subtype Dragon, subtype Drake, subtype, Mononoke. The actions and objects didn't have subtypes. We have now added subtypes. There is 2 reasons for this. Well, 3 reasons, technically. The first reason is lore purposes. It's just nicer for lore to see what actually is this action. Is it a spell? Is it a ritual? Is it an event? You know, for the objects of power, is it a weapon? Is it a tool? Is it an artifact? So firstly, for lore purposes, they're in there. The second reason is for the TTRPG. Moving into the TTRPG, as you guys have seen from the Chapter 2 video, go check that out if you haven't already, there is the ability to craft actions and craft objects of power in the TTRPG. And also, there are some things that, when you're attacking in the TTRPG, if you have a weapon, then you can gain more damage. But it wasn't very clear of our objects, which objects were weapons. You know, Jade Dragon Pendant, for example. Is that a weapon? Are you swinging it around like a slingshot, or is it something else? So we've added these subtypes to assist with the TTRPG. And thirdly, a slight bit of a sneak peek for you. This does also play into some of the expansion cards and future releases. For example, I'm not going to start. These aren't cards that I can show you today, or maybe one of them will be in the sneak peeks. I don't know, but we do have some cards coming out that might be an action that says reveal a weapon, reveal a spell. So rather than it being like go and find an action, go and find an object, it will actually start specifying a weapon or an artifact or a spell or a ritual. So it's going to kind of get into a bit more niche gameplay of subtypes, a bit like how we already have cards now, which is find a Magus Elite rather than find a character. So that's why we are adding subtypes to objects and actions. You could expect every single object and action to have a subtype. It'll, again, you'll see them all online shortly. Yeah, pretty cool. Did you get that? Sorry, glad you did that before I started putting the couplet together. Yeah, sorry about that, Darth. And then the last changes we've done are around simply spelling and grammar. At the end of the day, here at Remnant Studios, we are human. Mistakes are bound to happen. So thankfully, there wasn't that many, but there were a couple of spelling errors that we have changed. For example, if you have a look at your first edition card of Lacringi Gardens, leaf was spelt L-E-I-F rather than it was spelled L-I-E-F rather than L-E-I-F. That was a tongue twister. So a couple of cards that did have some spelling errors or grammatical issues in their lore, we have changed. Again, I'm not going to go through every single card that has had a change, as it's not important to gameplay, but there will obviously be a full list available at a later date. But obviously, we wanted to take the opportunity to fix those as well. So that is all of the updates. Now, coming back to your question, Cool, because I know that some people, might have been expecting more changes. To be very clear, there is a very good reason why, to summarize, we've only actually changed 4 cards when it comes to abilities, and we've only changed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we've changed 8 cards to heroic status. So arguably changing to heroic is a change. So you could argue we've changed 12 out of 254 cards, is it? If I remember correctly. So yeah, we haven't actually changed very much at all. Because going back to what we said at the start, we ideally don't want to really change too many cards. So for those that are, for those that might be thinking, oh man, but I want the Drakes to be buffed, or I want, these factions aren't very powerful, or if you're thinking around those lines, to be very clear, this is why we have brought out the expansion cards. Because take it from me, you guys know I'm very, very big in the community. I started as a community member and still am. I've now seen all of the, I personally have now seen all of the expansion cards because I've been helping the team to review them to make sure they're, all up to date and all looking good. And I can tell you, hand on heart, that all of the factions that you guys tell me in the Discord, yeah, I never play that faction, it's just really hard to play with. No, it won't be anymore. The expansion cards have literally been made for that purpose, to make it so that when palette building, there are just going to be so many more options. There's going to be very, very few cards that don't know. Like, I think what's got me most excited about the expansion, folks, is that, and again, I can't talk about it too much because there's only so much I can say today, but there are some cards that I know nobody ever plays because it's like, nah, that's too weak, not playing that. And then some of the new expansion cards, comboed with those other cards, are now like gold mines. It's just going to be so much fun. And if it puts a smile on your face, Cool Reindeer, I will say now that the first palette that I'm most excited to build when I get my hands on the expansion cards is a Drake build, because we saw some of the cards last week for Drakes, and chef kiss to the team. They are going to be so much fun. Love the changes, nothing too heavy or unnecessary. Sadly got to dash, good luck the rest of the stream. No worries, Hazmat, thank you for being in today, I really appreciate it. I see my first editions getting locked away in a safe place. Absolutely, SJ, yeah, it's a good, definitely proof that we got first editions. Query, is Lacringi Gardens getting a reword, by the way? Bit confusing, draw 2 cards instead. As far as I'm aware, no, that didn't get a rewording. As far as I'm aware, I'll be honest, you're the first person to bring up about the confusion of it, but to be very clear, it is you draw 2 cards for each location. But yeah. So there we go, folks. That is all of the Chapter 1 changes. Now, another question some people have had is, when do those changes go live? Now, I did admittedly say in my Discord announcement a few days ago that it was going to be going live after this stream. Now, unfortunately, folks, again, we're human, mistakes can be made. Due to I'm not going to go into explaining fully why, but due to a slight change we're making in our card database on the website, where we were originally going to be getting the card database updated maybe even tonight or tomorrow morning. It's now going to be, the best I can give you is early next week. I don't want to set a day, but very early next week, the card database will be updated. So until the card database is updated, the official word is that the card changes are not yet in. So if you want to continue playing your games as they are now, feel free. However, my personal recommendation, especially for Murky Mana, Enforcer, Gazelle, Solveig, and the 8 heroic cards, you may as well start playing those as per the new rules, because there's no reason not to, because you may as well start practicing, because it's going to be like that in a few days anyway, you know what I mean? But just for anyone that is like really wants to be competitive, just to be very clear, we will say for now it is not live, because it's unfair to you in the community to say it's live, go play, but you can't actually see the cards to know the difference. But yes, there will be an article on the website, and the database will be updated very early next week, and we'll make sure that you guys in Discord, on Twitter, are made aware of exactly when that happens to know to start playing that way. Yes, there will be a list, Sarah, don't you worry. I'm on top of that. Yeah, I thought it came up at one point a game a while ago. Fair play. I'm just looking forward to doing a Gazelle deck. Yeah, me too, Joe, actually. There's a lot of card draw mechanics in the Wishwell. Very cool. So that is the end of the news segment. I did say that one was going to take a bit of time because there's a lot there, but thank you for sticking with me for that. But we've still got a lot to cover on this stream, including sneak peeks, so stick around. So starting with the upcoming events. Now this is going to be no surprise to anybody because the upcoming event is Curdle Hill. Now I do not have any more to say about this today because, and get it in your diaries, folks, get it in your diaries. This time next week, so next week's live stream is going to be a deep dive into exactly what is happening at the Curdle event. So next Sunday, I'll be revealing how the Curdle event will run. And I'll tell you folks, I've been given a bit of a nudge, here's what we're planning. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. I got to go, bye, Brilliant. No worries, cool. Thank you very much for being here, buddy. Enjoy your evening, bud. But yes, the Curdle event is going to be really fun. It's not just play games. There is going to be something on the day that is going to be special for those that can make it. As a reminder, yes, people can go to Bash to be able to play it as well. It's not just the Achroma store in Pool. And to be very clear, for those that are thinking, well, I can't get to either store, the main event, which is playing games to seal the fate of Curdle Hill, that is going to be across the entire world. But for those that can make it to the store, either Bash or in Pool, in 2 Saturdays' time, we have got some treats for you. More on that next Sunday. Next Sunday for that. Next Sunday I'll be in Birmingham. No, that's okay. It's just the stream. Obviously, hopefully you can make it for the actual Curdle event. Chris says, I hope in general people are happy with this. Of course, we can't please everybody, but this is what we feel best. Exactly. It's one of those, it's very hard when we make card changes that we're never going to be able to please everybody, but hopefully, whether people enjoy it or whether people don't enjoy it, hopefully you can all see why we've done what we've done. And at the end of the day, the large portion of what has changed has been from your feedback. So please, as a community, do not stop giving us feedback, whether it's good or whether it's constructively bad, because we want to listen to you and make sure that we make the best game possible for you guys. Other than the promo, yes, other than the promo card, Darth. As in, there's actually, I can't say it. Yeah, I can't say what I want to say. How can I say this cryptically? And Chris in the stream's going, Charlie, watch what you say. There is going to be something else to do at the store. It's not just, it's going to be much more than just playing regular games of Achroma. Let's put it that way, Darth. That'd be cool. I'm still trying to sort myself out to playing Occultist to keep my Chrome Steve going. Nice. So the next bit of the stream then is the sneak peeks. So I have a total of 8 images to show you today. To begin with, I have the remaining Realm Rifts and Realm Runes. So in last week's stream, we revealed 2 of the Realm Rifts and 2 of the Realm Runes, of which there's only 4 of each, so you're now going to see the other 50%. Play with the cube. Yes, to be fair, we're going to be doing that anyway, Lewis, because obviously you're bringing that down, but that is going to be very cool. So, last week we had a look at the first 2 Realm Rifts. Now, most of you in chat predicted, so we saw the Realm Rifts last week, and a lot of you in chat actually predicted correctly that the other Realm Rifts follow suit. In fact, you know what? Just as a bit of a reminder, this is what the Realm Rifts were last week. So this is what we saw last week. Oh, that's a very small image. Where did that come from? Why is that such a small image? I have a bigger image than that. I have no idea why that image has suddenly gone so tiny, but thankfully, the magic of computers, I can zoom. So these were the ones we saw last week, Aurium Fracture and Achroma Breach. Notice these were legendaries. Once during your turn, reveal a card with one of those colors, and X is the number of cards on your canvas with that. Would you guys be surprised to know that next two are following the same suit? So these are the other two Realm Rifts. They are both legendary cards, so they will replace whichever legendary you've got in your palettes. They are essentially Murky Mana, but every turn and with some gain. So it's once during your turn. So for the Aqueous Transition, by the way, the artwork on these blow me away. Once during your turn, reveal a card with blue, and then you don't get to play it for free, so it's not like Murky Mana where you get to play it for free. X then equals the number of cards with blue on your canvas. So every single resolve step, for every single card on your board that has a blue shard contained, you would gain +1. And Flora Overgrowth is the exact same thing, but for green. So as you guys can see, the Realm Rifts have gone down the very similar route. Can't wait to try that. I'm going to call them whirlpools or hurricanes. Oh, it's just absolutely beautiful. And the lore is great as well. Water droplets slow down and start floating in between realms. Nature flows in between the realms, connected through roots and branches. Yeah, they're so nice. Obviously, these are designed by our original artist, Vinny, who is obviously incredibly... I mean, all our artists are incredibly talented, but Vinny's locations are just literally out of this world. But yes, very, very cool cards. So we've now seen all 4 Realm Rifts. The colors on the Realm Rifts are blue, green, magenta, and what was the other one? I've already forgotten. What was the other color that we saw on the other Realm Rift? It was Achroma. Achroma is the other one. Oh man, imagine playing the Achroma Realm Rift and Murky Mana in a palette. That would be quite cool. Cool. So that is the Realm Rifts. So we've now seen all 4 of these. As a reminder, with all of our sneak peeks, these will be put into the Discord straight away after stream for you guys to oogle at a little bit more. So the next then is the Realm Runes. So I will show you last week's sneak peek as well, because sorry if it, I hope this in no way disappoints anybody, but unsurprisingly, it's following the same suit. So this was last week's Realm Runes. So they were 4-cost rare cards where it was an action. So you would reveal a card with any yellow and deploy it for free. So this is like Murky Mana, where it's you reveal it and then deploy it for free. Then you gain +1 for each card with yellow on your canvas. Izaz was the same, but cyan. So going to this week, you probably guessed it, that it is another 2 colors. So we've got I should have practiced. Earth? Is it Perth? Earth? Close enough. So we've got Perth, which is a 4-cost Achroma card. Reveal an Achroma, deploy it for free, +1. So it's essentially a 1-use Murky Mana, but rather than getting a location with -2, it's +1 for every card on your... +1 for each card on your canvas with Achroma at that time. I tried my best. And then the other one is Kunan. Which again, the artwork of these is beautiful. I love all these runes. 4-cost, and this one is deploy red. So if it's not obvious, if you haven't put the picture together at this point, when you actually look at all 4 Realm Rifts and all 4 Realm Runes, there is 1 for each color and 2 for Achroma, 1 action, 1 rift. So really, really, overly well balanced. Some people might actually not rate these cards. Some people might not actually feel like they want to put them in their palettes compared to others. When we spoke about Murky Mana earlier, there are options. Yes, with all of these Realm Runes and all of these Realm Rifts, there is an inherent risk that you could play it, and the card you reveal might be a card that you didn't want to play at this point in time. But what you could do, going with Kunan, for example, you could build a palette that only has 1 or 2 red cards in it, so that when you play Kunan, you have a 50-50 chance of finding one of the 2 cards that you actually wanted. So if you wanted to build your palette around that way, you could. It's just going to get, people are going to have to get creative with their palette building. But yeah, very, very pretty. So you've now all seen all of the Realm Runners, all of the Realm Rifts, all of the Realm Runes, and all of the Rune Relics. So what I have now for you folks is I have 8 new expansion cards to show you. Now, I will admit, I have now seen these. So as much as I normally like to react to them on stream with you, I have seen them because I've been helping make sure they are good before, as in like, I've been basically helping proofread before they go off to the printer. Makes research super powerful? Yes, it absolutely does. Because yeah, Daryl, you've actually hit the nail on the head there. Because what you could do in a Draco deck is, let's say you had a research 3 card, you could research 3, and let's say you had 3 cards with red, you could then put them in the order so that the card you actually want to have with red is on the top, so you can then play Kunan and play it for free. So yeah, research and these realm runes are going to be very, very good combos, I agree. Same thing for Green Raven, to an effect. So the first cards to show you are both from Draco. Now, I know that we've been showing a lot of Draco and a lot of Curdle cards. I will say now, folks, that I wanted to show you some Fall of Flutterby and Warriors Official cards, but because we're just waiting for a couple more to be checked over, there'll be some of those being shown next week instead. They weren't ready to show this week. So we've got... Oh! Sorry, I just got excited. That was genuine excitement because sorry, this is Salem Plane, I'm not Draco. This is a card that I've been telling people, wait, there's a card that's amazing, but I couldn't tell people what. This is genuinely my favorite card. So one of the... Right, I'm getting so excited. Even though I've even seen this card, I'm just excited that I now get to talk about it. So Hex Clunker Part, it's a heroic object. It's a +3 and it costs 3. Attached to a location. So yes, there are now some objects that specifically allow to attach to a location. It's pure excitement. And you're allowed to attach it to Hex Clunker for free. So I was talking to a few people about this earlier, actually. So the reason why Hex Clunker is probably one of the least played legendaries, full stop, is that one, there's not that many good objects in Curdle, although obviously there are going to be after the expansion. And secondly, of all the legendaries, Hex Clunker actually had really bad resolve. He was sixth cost for only 2 resolve, whereas when you compare that to Cronus, or even Huxon, or Kara, they all blew Hex Clunker out of the window when it comes to resolve. So what's nice about Hex Clunker Parts is it's only an uncommon, so but it is a heroic, so you can't have more than 1 out on your canvas at a time, keep that in mind. But it essentially means that if you had Hex Clunker out, keep in mind that Hex Clunker's ability is once per turn, you could find an object and play it for free. So you play Hex Clunker, and on the same turn that you play Hex Clunker, you can go find or dig for your Hex Clunker part and attach it to your Hex Clunker. So Hex Clunker now effectively becomes a +5 when you attach this to him. And if you didn't happen to have Hex Clunker, you can still just attach it to it. I mean, I'll be honest, that whole you may attach it to Hex Clunker for free, in my personal opinion, I think that's kind of like, it's almost invalid because if you have Hex Clunker out, you can find and dig and play it for free anyway, thanks to Hex Clunker's ability. And Lewis, so previously free deploys haven't counted towards your free return. Would this count or not? No. Well, okay. Oh, that's a very good question, actually. That's a good question, Lewis, because normally cards that say for free are normally where you're like finding and playing something. I mean, Chillman is currently in the stream, so Chillman, just to confirm, if you had Hex Clunker Parts in your hand, let's say you weren't using Hex Clunker's ability to actually play this card, if you play that to Hex Clunker, obviously it's not going to be 3 shards, but it will count as one of the 3. Okay, so because you're deploying it from your hand, it is actually it is actually one of your 3 cards. Yeah, I think so the difference is all of the other cards that say for free it's because it's not being deployed as a result of another card. So all of the cards that say deploy for free, like Lost Fairies or Prism's, Occultist Shaman, are saying, go grab that card, play it for free. Whereas this is, you are actually deploying it. So yes, so if you're playing Hex Clunker Parts to Hex Clunker, it's free of shards, but not free of your 3 cards per turn. However, obviously, if you used Hex Clunker's ability, which is once per turn, dig or find for an object of power, deploy it for free, then that would be away from your 3 cards. So ideally, you're probably going to use your Hex Clunker ability rather than just playing it straight from your hand. But, point being, Hex Clunker has got a buff thanks to this card, and I'm here for it. Love it. It's a great card. Also, can we just appreciate the artwork? It's brilliant. Obviously, that was done by Margo. So let's not hesitate away from the other card that we've got here, which is the rare. Keep in mind, folks, that for the 28 expansion cards, there's only one rare object and one rare action. So this is the rare action coming for Salem Plenum. Making a Hex Deck Hex Clunker is going to be my new favorite. It's going to be amazing. So Chromatic Shield, again, beautiful artwork here. It's a 3-cost action. And the ability is cards on your canvas have protection until your next turn. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, hold on, that's a rare. That's no different than defensive position. That's only 2 shards. We read it carefully. Cards on your canvas. So this isn't just characters. This is every location, every character, every object. Every single card that is on your canvas, whoop, protected on a turn. And for those that don't know protection very well, protection means that they cannot be erased or drained. They can be claimed, they can be restrained, they can be bounced, they can be role reversaled, very niche scenarios there, but they cannot be erased by attacking or, actions with erase and stuff like that. So yes, very, very powerful action, that one. Sorry, excuse me. I can see that being played really well with in a Cronus Huxon deck. Get down Cronus, get down Huxon, play Chromatic Shield. So now you do your resolve, I think most of us agree that when Cronus and Huxon are on the board, you've pretty much got a 2-turn win. Resolve this turn, resolve next turn, you win. So get down Cronus, get down Huxon, then play Chromatic Shield, sit there and enjoy and wait for your win on the next turn. Yeah, very, very cool action. Obviously, it's a rare, so it means you do have to take away a rare card from your palette to make it work. Very cool. Let us know in chat what you think about that. The next 2 are also from Salem Plenum. We have got here, they're both, one's common, one's uncommon. We've got a object called Von Ruthro Teapot. Again, credit to Marco. It is beautiful card art. It is a 1-cost object artifact. It's a +1 in the resolve. And it has an ability which is called Dispose. Now, again, we have spoken about it on the previous streams, but Dispose is a new keyword. The way Dispose works is that at any point during any player's turn, you can dispose of this card, aka, it has to be a card on your canvas, by the way. You can't, Dispose isn't from your hand. So Von Ruthro Teapot has to be on your canvas, and during any person's turn, you can basically erase your own card, almost like sacrifice, but a delayed sacrifice. It goes into your dregs, and then you get the ability, which for this one is you get to reveal a resource. So do you remember I said how a lot of objects and actions have subtypes now? I say all of them do. So a resource is obviously going to be a certain type of object. So you wouldn't be able to find a occultist to tame, but you might be able to find I don't know of a resource off the top of my head, but you know what I mean. Us Brits love a good cup of tea. Exactly. So yeah, it's a really nice little card. Great little way of, finding a resource that you might desperately need, but also just a solid little 1/1 object. And then I love the artwork on this one. Occultist's Stang. I'm not sure how you'd say that. Is it Stang? Oh yeah. So it's a 2-cost uncommon object. It is a -1 in the resolve, and this also has a dispose ability where you get to reveal a ritual or spell with Achroma. So again, it's very specific. You're looking for a ritual or a spell, but again, if you've built your palette with only a few spells or a few rituals, you are quite likely to find it. Obviously, when you dispose of it, it's in your dreg, so you might have to wait a certain point to do that. So yeah, very, very cool cards. Again, well done to Marco for drawing those. Let me know in chat what we think of those. All of these will be in Discord afterwards. I've got 2 more of the expansion cards. This one is from Draco Temple. I knew we had some Draco Temple ones. So this one is going to be really fun. So we have, the second one will. So, I mean, they both will be fun. We have Battle Bow of Arcus. I am definitely going to be cosplaying this one. I think when I next go to Comic-Con, I'm probably going to do a cosplay of one of the monks, wear a bald cap. Or maybe I'll just shave, maybe if we get enough reactions in Discord, I'll shave my head or something. Rhea wouldn't be happy with that. But yes, I definitely want to cosplay this. Battle Bow of Arcus. It is a 2-strength object of power. Object. You can see here it has the subtype of weapon. Its ability is, for the duration of your turn, the Battle of Bow's strength increases by the number of cards you research. So this is going to be amazing in a Denizen deck. So how this works then is, let's say you have 2 Draco Plenum libraries on your palette. And let's say you, essentially where it says for the number of cards you research, it's not about how many cards you pay to keep. It's about how many cards have you researched. So if I did my Draco Plenum library, I researched 1. on strength. I use my second Draco Planum library. I've researched again. Let's say that I then had, let's say I played a one of my monks, you know, the one which is research based on how many locations. Let's say I had 4 locations, so I researched another 4 cards, 1, 2, 3, 4. This object of power, if I was to now do an attack with it, still during my main step, it would actually have an extra 6 strength. It would now be an 8 strength. How nutty is that? It's such a cool object. Obviously, it's very weak during, you know, it's only during your turn. So on other players' turns, the incentive to other players will be to get rid of this staff when it's not your turn. But during your turn, this can suddenly scale into a really powerful object. I mean, imagine you had that in your hand. Ooh, here's a question. Here's a question I've got for Chillman. I've only just thought of this. It says for the duration of your turn, the strength is increased. Does it have to be deployed to increase the strength? Or could we theoretically keep it in your hand, start your turn, do your 4 research, then deploy it, then attack with it, and it would have 6 strength then? Or do you have to have it deployed for it to be gaining the ability? I imagine it has to be deployed because it says for the duration of your turn, the strength increases by the number of cards you research. It doesn't say researched. It's not in the past tense. So presumably it has to be out and then you do your research. Yeah, it needs to be deployed. Yeah, because otherwise it would say number of cards you researched with an ED at the end. So you have to have it out and then play it, which that does make sense. Otherwise that'd be too powerful if you could like hold it in your hand, do all the research, then play it. Yeah, just wanted to make that was clear. Yeah, can't gain that from hand, which makes sense because the ability is not valid because it's in your hand. So the other side is Materno's Egg. And for those that are liking Dexter Materno palettes, this is going to make you happy. So this is a 3-cost object called Materno's Egg. It has an action and a dispose. So when you play it, it has the action, reveal a dragon with a shard value of 3 or less. So that is a way that you could potentially, if you're lucky, draw into your Materno, if you're looking for her. And then it also has a dispose, which is when you dispose of it, you could deploy a dragon with a shard value of 3 or less for free. So effectively, if you had Materno's Egg on your Dexter, I know it's a little bit of luck with reveal, but you could play Materno's Egg, find your Materno, reveal your Materno, and then dispose of the egg immediately to deploy your Materno on that turn for free. So yeah, some really, really good synergy, because the one thing that Dragon decks don't really have is, well, they do have research, so that's a lie when I say they don't have card draw, but they don't really have many ways at the moment to find or reveal cards, so it's nice to see one of those. So yeah, really cool. Materno's Egg, that's going to synergize really well in your Dragon decks. And then the last one I've got to show you is, again, from Draco Temple. We'll look more at Warriors of Wishwell and Flutterby next week. So we've got a 4-strength object of power called Cursed Crystals of Arcus. So it's a uncommon. The attached character cannot attack and is erased at the end of the controller's turn. Now, to be completely open with you guys, did you remember on a few streams ago, I showed a crown, like an Achroma crown that had a similar ability? To be very clear, that Achroma crown has been reworded to something else. It's the Cursed Crystals that now have that ability. So this is basically what that card used to be. So the whole point of this is that you wouldn't attach this to one of your characters. You would actually attach this to one of your opponent's characters, because that is something we can do since the last rule change. And that character then cannot attack. And if your opponent is unable to remove the crystals before the end of their next turn, the character will be erased. So it's a really good way of, forcing your opponent to get rid of a character. Ooh, I have a question. Again, I haven't looked into these cards that much, so I have a question for Chillman. That obviously we know with the new protection rules that protection doesn't work if it's a card that's where you're making the decision. So for example, if you had protection, Chris, on all of your characters, and I played an Impious Drake, because you have to choose a card to erase, that obviously bypasses protection because you're erasing your own character. Question: Cursed Crystals of Arcus, that wouldn't eat through protection, would it? Because the controller isn't choosing their card to be erased. So correct me if I'm wrong, but if I put Cursed Crystals of Arcus on a protected character, that means I'm guessing that doesn't erase them. So you wouldn't play that on a protected character. I'm sure Creeper will answer a bit. In the meantime, let's have a look at Scorch. So Scorch is a 2-cost action. It's a ritual. Very cool artwork. Again, well done to Marco. Yes, okay, I'm correct. Awesome. So it is quite simply sacrifice. And yes, it could get rid of Copper Joss. It could get rid of Copper Joss, Lewis. Because Copper Joss doesn't have protection. Copper Joss just can't be attacked. But what you could do is attach Cursed Crystals onto Copper Joss, and then she would be erased at the end of her turn. What I mean is that it wouldn't be able to get rid of cards that have protection from Achroma or Acrom. Yeah. So Scorch is a nice, easy little card. You sacrifice a card. Oh yeah, no. It's just it's just a can't attack. So Scorch is sacrifice a card in your canvas and steal 2. It's a nice little action. You know, it's a really nice. It's a quick steal too, isn't it? You could play a Draco Hatchling that costs 1, do your resolve step to get the +1 back so you're not down any shards, then play Scorch for 2 shards and steal 2. So it's effectively a free way. You're not actually gaining any shards, but you are taking them from somebody else. So a great little finisher or a great little way to put pressure on opponents. Yeah, I like it. Solid little card. That's almost certainly going to be going into every Drake deck, let's be honest. And that is all of the expansion cards to show you. Now, I do have some alt art cards to show you in the stream, especially with some of the extra sacrifice texting. Yes, absolutely. Drakes are going to be so much fun. I cannot wait. So, I do have some alt art cards to show you. Now, I want to set the expectations. You guys have seen these, as in, like, you know, some of these have been seen on stream before, but you may not have seen the finished and confirmed versions. So I just want to set the expectation that a lot of you will have seen these before, but I can confirm that 2 of the alt art cards are the King Craven Traitorius and Kara Curdle. So these were drawn by Marco and Alina, and as some of you pointed out last week, these did not need to be upscaled. So where we've got other ones being upscaled by one of our artists, these 2, rightly so, did not need an upscale. So these are 2 confirmed alt art cards, King Craven Traitorius and Kara Curdle. If you do not know about the alt art cards, as in why we're doing them or whether you're getting them in your pledge, then check out go to the Achroma.cards website using the link below and see the most recent article that says alt art cards and have a little read of that. I suspect that you could give it to a protection card and say when it's no longer got protection. Yes, that is very true, Heron, actually. That's a very good point. If I just bring that back for a second, you've got a very good point there. That attached character, yeah, because that card, Cursed Crystals of Arcus, doesn't get destroyed after a turn. So theoretically, you could attach it, and then as soon as the protection is over, so let's say, for example, that you were playing against Flutterby, and they had used their defensive position for this turn, you could still play Cursed Crystals, because then when the defensive position is over, it will eventually do it. So yes, you're absolutely right. And even if it doesn't erase the card, protection doesn't stop the ability of the character can't attack. So you can still, even if you can't get the erase because they've got protection, you can still stop that character from attacking, which is obviously huge. So yes, some brilliant alt art. Well done to Marco and Alina for these 2. They are absolutely beautiful. And I hope you guys are excited about getting these into your collection because they are absolutely beautiful. And then the other 2 alt art cards I've got to show today are ones that, again, you guys have seen these before, to be very clear. But these are now confirmed, which hopefully people are going to be happy with. Because I know that a few people were quite keen to see these. Yes, I can confirm that Countess Isadora Curdle is getting her alt art. So this is the concept drawing that was shown ages ago. I can confirm that that is going to be one of the alt art cards. And the Vraxia that everybody loved as well is going to be one. So these are concept drawings from our original artist, Vinny, when he was originally designing the first versions of the cards. And these are going to be 2 of the confirmed alt art cards that you can expect to see if you are getting some of these. Again, if you want to know more about the alt art cards, check out below the stream to see that article. Yes, very, very cool. There was a lot of was upset the right word? There was a lot of motion in Discord when people saw the list and it didn't include Isadora. So I think a lot of people will be happy to see that she is back. Beautiful. And that brings me to the end of the sneak peek. Oh, it's beautiful. It is beautiful, isn't it, Joe? So that is the end of the sneak peek. So to finish off the stream, we always like to then shine some light onto you guys, the community. And it's quite a decent community showcase today. So, firstly, before I actually start on the community, we had 7 new members in the Discord. We're up to 424 members. So, if you are one of those 7 new members, welcome into the community. Pleasure to have you. And it's lovely to see the community growing nice and steadily. So, the first thing I want to talk about this week, we always like to, show some of the some of the amazing content that people have been making in the community. Wolf, I have had confirmation that I'll be at UK Games Expo. That's amazing. Can't wait to see you, Wolf. You have to head out. Thanks for always. No worries, Chris. Great to see you, mate. Yeah, Artrix. You reworked my Zadora after the changes just now. It's on Discord. Ooh, can't wait to see. So, first thing I want to mention, folks, is that one of our really creative community members called Badger has created a audio podcast called Tales from the Badger Set. You can actually find the link to their podcast down below underneath the stream, as well as in one of the forum posts in the Discord. And what they've been doing is they have been doing a audio podcast of all of the stories that are on the Achroma website. And, all he's doing is reading out the stories, but he's just doing it in a really kind of nice, like an audiobook way, a nice, calm, interesting to listen to voice. I've been really enjoying listening to the first few episodes. Even though I've read the articles before, it's just really nice to be able to hear it being read out. I've been listening to it when I've actually been driving into work. It's a great little thing to do whilst you're driving or, commuting. And I know that he is working on further episodes. So please give some support to Badger Set, because it's an amazing thing he's doing. And if it's the type of thing you like to do by listening to the audiobooks, then check him out on Spotify, Apple Music, and all the other, he's pretty much on all of them. Yeah, really cool. They are amazing. Some of the newer ones even have voice acting. Yes, exactly, Daniel. It's really, really interesting. It brings the story to life. Thank you for the shout out. Episode 3 will be live at 9 PM and 4 will be out tomorrow. There we go. Thank you, Badger. Really good work on that, mate. And may it continue, because really good to see. Keep an eye on so in the Discord, there is the content creator channel and also the forum post. Keep an eye on that for when the next ones go live. The next thing I have to talk about is I mentioned it briefly earlier, but Echo in our Discord, I unfortunately haven't got a better image than that. So Echo in our Discord has actually started a fan-made essentially news page, article page, kind of a blog, as it were. So this is also linked down below in the stream. So if you haven't checked it out, it's www.dracotemple.com, I'm pretty certain. I think it's literally just that. Check it out. It's all in the description of the stream. And essentially what he's doing is, similar to what we do on the main website where we release news articles, but he's doing it from obviously a community point of view. He's been talking about his opinions on the Rise of the Realm Runners. He's been talking, he's been taking people's deck ideas with their permission and discussing them and showing them to the wider community. And he recently even did a card update community poll, which I will take a moment to see. So you guys over the last few days did a poll to see what cards you think would be changed. So the survey responses, most people thought that Murky Mana was going to be changed. So you guys were right with that. A lot of people thought Trader's Lifeline was going to get a change, but it didn't. And a lot of people thought Vast Volatas was going to get a change. Some of you thought Huxton and Dexter, but no, they did not. And some factions that needed a boost were Drakes and Samir Trolls. And although they didn't get a boost from the card updates, I can confirm they are getting boosts from the expansion. So well done to those that did their post there. But no, Echo's been doing a really, really good job so far with getting out some really interesting articles. They're really well written. So, I would definitely recommend checking out. If you look at the bottom right of his website, there's a little place where you can sign up to get email updates when he does post. On top of that, he does put a update in the creator content channel when he does do a new article. So definitely check it out if you would like a little bit of light reading on your lunch break at work or at school or something like that, to keep up to date with the Achroma news. Obviously, we are doing our own news on our own website as well, but it's always great to see it from a community point of view. So very well done to Echo. What else did I miss? So Hope So Heron working with Dice Heads with the game Zoontez. Ooh. And to have to say hi. So next I have some fan art. So we always like to highlight some of the amazing fan art that you guys do. So the first one is, yes, it is some more fairy bread. Oh, I downloaded the wrong image. Well, I did download the wrong image. So for those who haven't seen fairy bread in our Discord, the bottom left one is the one that they did a few months ago, and the top left one is the one they did last week, but they've now gone ahead and done even more fairy bread. So top right, we've now got spiral bread. So let's have a little zoom in on that one. So it's an object of power. It's bread. It's 3 costs. +1 for each of your cards on your canvas. Okay, so it's a very similar to Spiral's ability. I like that. Oh, it's similar to Gunnar. It's +1 for each card on your canvas with canvas. Sorry, for each card on your canvas, or -1 for each card on your canvas you can choose. Oh, very nice. So it's like Gunnar, but even more powerful, because rather than it just being Achroma, it's just every card. Very cool. I like that. I like that fairy. And the other one is Kara Bread. So this is, again, it very much looks like Kara's magic. Brilliant. 2 resolve, 6 cost. All other cards on your canvas get +1 and block 1. Kara's own recipe. I see. So it's essentially like a second version of Kara that you can do. So she's almost like imbued her magic into the breads. Very, very cool. Very creative. Well done, Fairy. There is actually a couple more as well. So if you want to check out more of Fairy breads, then check out the forum post in the fan content channel. But well done, Fairy. Some brilliant bread as always. Next, and I maybe I'm a little bit biased here, but this has to be my favorite of the week if I have a favorite. We have so this is called Magus Elite Business. This was done by A. Roberts in the Discord, and it is Huxon pointing at a Magus Elite detective saying, investigator saying, "Investigator, slap that pigeon!" And they're slapping a poor little day drifter from Fall of Flutterby. So, firstly, very well drawn, Adam. Brilliant picture. Love to see it. This has come from a bit of an inside joke where there was about 2 or 3 games of Achroma that we played in the Discord, where we kept playing Curdle versus Fall of Flutterby, and every time a Daydrifter came out, we kept using the Inspector to just slap him. Every time a Daydrifter came out, it was boom, boom, boom. And we just kept making that joke. So Adam went ahead and drew that, and it's hilarious. Very well drawn as well, Adam. Yeah, I forgot about it, but it's absolutely hilarious. But no, well done, Adam. Very, very, very good drawing, but also great to see a few memes. I like memes. So yeah, keep the memes coming. We love that. The next one actually was also from Adam. I wanted to highlight this as well. This one is less of a meme, more of a little cute one. So this is a rabid dog standing on a pile of what I believe is Magus Elite armor. So he's kind of like, he's happy. These are all the Magus Elites he's presumably erased from his poisonous. Oh look, I only just noticed that there's Achroma like spewing from it. Oh, that's actually really cool. Wait, is that he's turned them all into Achroma? I don't know. But let's just appreciate that derpy face. I love that. It's really cute and very well drawn again, Adam. Well done, mate. Love to see the rabid dog. And then the last fan art I've got is from Renegade Daryl, who has done this amazing Conjurer Otrix. They're cloaks. They're cloaks, are they? Let's have a little look again. I genuinely thought that was Achroma, but I see. Yeah, that makes more sense now when you see they're latched on there. I didn't zoom in enough. I wasn't sure whether it was Achroma there, but no, very, very cool. But yes, Daryl, really well done to this one. This is a beautiful Otrix drawing. Great little art that you've drawn here. I love the portals. Those portals you've drawn, they almost kind of look similar to the Realm Rift that we've seen announced now. And obviously, the clothing, the lighting work, the glowing purple eyes, brilliant work. Yeah, the Otrix ones you do are absolutely beautiful, mate. So very, very well done. Great piece of fan art. And we really appreciate these. So if you guys at home draw any form of fan art, whether it's a quick doodle or a proper sketch, chuck it in the Achroma Discord. The link is down below for the Discord, and we love to see it and show it on stream. Well done, guys. And then the last little thing I like to highlight is I always like to highlight a palette. So the palette that I've chosen to show this week is a palette that's been created by Silent in the Discord, who is called, I think his name's Richard in the stream. I think he did have to go to work, but I'm sure we'll see it later. So this is his take on a Dexter Master of Dragons build, and I am definitely here for it. So we have got Dexter Master of Dragons as the legendary, and Materno as one of the rares. Now, for those who don't know, this is a brilliant combo. Materno protects Dexter, Dexter protects all of your other dragons. Brilliant combo. We've got Impundulu, again for more protection. I imagine that's so that if you don't have Materno, you could maybe do Dexter, but still get protected by Impundulu. Mirror Sanctum, which is obviously in the current formatting, before the changes, is a great card to be able to Mirror Sanctum a Achroma Storehouse or a Monastery Nest or a Vast Volataris. Obviously, post changes, it's going to be a little bit less useful, but you could use it to copy, obviously, a very powerful location on your opponent's board. And a Jade Dragon Pendant, great choice, again, to give to Dexter, just so that, considering he's only a 2 strength, it's a great way of bolstering him so that he doesn't get taken out too early. And then, obviously, we have a whole host of dragons, all very good choices. Glacius Draco for that defend, Ceridium Draco for the discard, Lucretia Draco for the card draw, Draco Fledgling for the +1s, Draco Whelps for the card draw. I can see we've got some objects of power. I personally would probably go for a double Prism Stone rather than 2 Ring of Ices, just for the extra plus. But I think where he's going with this, he's thinking about how can I defend Dexter, so obviously the extra defend. I like the Rummage and the Restless Research for the card draw. I probably would go for a second Strength in Numbers and maybe remove one of the storehouses, or maybe the Monastery Underside, or maybe even the Floating Wasteland, actually, to get another Strength in Numbers in there, because you really do need that for a Dragon deck. Locations-wise, Draco Graveyard is pretty much needed in every Drake deck. Draco Planum Library, solid choice for the gain. Monastery Underside, 50-50 whether I put that in there, but a little bit of Prevent is always good. Vast Volataris. I just realized, actually, that is a... only just noticed now. We'll have to let Silent know that technically he's going to have to remove one of those cards, because the Vast Volataris is actually a rare card, so you can't have 5 rares. Maybe he should probably drop the Mirror Sanctum for the Vast, probably. But Monastery Nest, a couple of Achroma Storehouses, and 2 Floating Wastelands for the card draw. So overall, a pretty good deck. A couple of changes that I would suggest, but a very, very solid Dragon deck. And if you guys at home have not yet done a Dexter Master of Dragons palette, if you want that card, you can check out the Achroma.cards. All of the money goes to support charity. But if you haven't done a Dexter deck, they are really, really fun, synergizes really well, and just overall a great playstyle. But well done to Silent, who made that deck. So that brings me very nicely then, folks, to the end of today's stream. It has been a long one, about an hour and a half, but we did say it was going to be a long one just due to how many things we had to talk about with the card changes. As a reminder, all of the card change updates will be live on the card database early next week. There will also be a news article going out with all of the card changes very early next week as well, so that you can see the full details. And on top of that, we will be obviously chatting about it in the Discord. If you have any questions, let me know. But otherwise, folks, that brings me nicely on to the end of the stream. So thank you very, very much for watching. I appreciate everybody that comes and says hello, as it's you guys that interact with me in the stream that makes it all the more interesting and all the more fun. Otherwise, it's just me sitting here talking all day. But yes, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed the sneak peeks, and I hope you enjoyed the card updates. So what's going to happen now is I am going to jump into table 1 of the Discord, where we're going to discuss a little bit of today's news and play a few Achroma games. So if you fancy that, then come join me in table 1 of the Discord. Otherwise, folks, make sure you subscribe if you haven't already, leave a like to the video, and be here this time, 8 o'clock next Sunday for the next weekly stream, where we're going to talk about the event and a few other bits. I've been Charles Barton, the Achroma Community Coordinator, otherwise known as Viridian in the Discord. I hope you have a lovely start to your week. Thank you, OSJ. Thank you, Heron. It's what I do anyway, absolutely. See you in the next one, folks. Goodbye.